So if you just give me a little bit of background information to Viva PR, have you been going, is it about 20 years? Have I got that right?
Yeah, we've just turned 19. I established Viva in 2002, back bedroom office 2002. So yeah,
Fantastic. And you're
19.
based in Lancashire, aren't you? And you've with about 8 staff, is it?
Yeah, we're in Rosendale, which is about 15 miles north of Manchester, and yeah, we've got 9 staff and 2 dogs, 2 office dogs that are regular visitors when, when we're allowed in the office.
Yeah, whenever that happens again. And I suppose, I think when I was chatting to you a few months ago, what struck me is you obviously quite a modest size agency, but you've decided to sort of take quite a big step, haven't you, and bring somebody in-house on is it a part-time basis to look at wellness and staff well-being. Just tell me a little bit about how that all sort of came about.
Well, we've been on a classic journey of health and well-being. But my background was in newspapers where it's a very kind of high stress environment, and people would have laughed at you if you'd mentioned stress or health and well-being. But here we've always tried over the years to kind of look after the team and recognise that's an important aspect of running the business. So over the years we've tried certain things and introduced certain things, like we have yoga sessions on a Tuesday afternoon. We have boot camp sessions during the week. 2 or 3 years ago, one of the team came along and said, can we try this idea? We call it a 20-minute walkout. So at any time during the day, people can just leave the desk and have a wander. And just it's not part of your kind of lunch hour or anything. It's just that kind of physically getting up and about, walking in the streets. And so
I like that.
And we're blessed at being here in Rosendale. It's a beautiful part of the country, the Penarth foothills, etc. So we're really lucky in that respect. But what I did feel was that we were, in a sense, playing at it. We were doing certain things that we felt were right, and they were, but we didn't have a kind of strategy or kind of process wrapped around health and well-being. So at the end of the last year, I felt that the time was right at that point, particularly after everything we'd gone through, to kind of look at this seriously. So yeah, we appointed a health and well-being manager, head of happiness in informal terms, and they've really already kind of made an impact. Looking at this thing in a more robust fashion.
It's fantastic, I think. I love that title, Head of Happiness. What a great, great job title. I think, and particularly, as you touched on before, you worked in magazines, and that's quite a fast-paced and stressful environment. And PR is notoriously known as being very fast-paced, very stressful. We've got deadlines to hit, pitches to meet. I mean, do you think, obviously, how have clients sort of taken to you bringing somebody on board? Because obviously at the end of the day, wellness is your company culture, but obviously you've got to work with the clients and their demands. And is that sort of married over and crossed into that world?
Yeah, I think, well, for me, it makes perfect business sense, because clients don't want their work dealt with by somebody who's stressed out of the box, do they? They want, they want somebody who's on top of things, who can cope with things, and so on. So the fact that they work for a kind of an organisation that's supportive in that way, it can only be a good thing in that sense, I think. So while they might have raised their eyebrow sometimes at some of the stuff that we're doing, the kind of baubles that come along, like the yoga sessions and so on. Certainly in some worlds that's kind of like what's going on there. But they get the idea that looking after the people is an important thing, I think. And also it's a kind of like it's a good sense for us. We, as an agency, you're serving lots of different clients, but there's got to be a good fit. And if culturally there's not a good fit, then, you know, we've got to kind of look internally and go, well, that's probably not a good client for us to be working with. If they expect, you know, if they flog their people to death and don't give a monkeys about health and well-being, then really we shouldn't really be, you know, either we should be trying to drag them on this journey with us, and if that's never going to happen, we should probably look at it and go, how can it be right for us to be serving somebody like that, or putting you know, an account manager and an account exec dealing with these people who just treat people in a poor way, shall we say?
I totally agree. And I mean, PR or not, loads of industries, is whether you're dealing with clients or a different sector, you come across businesses that or people that do treat you in quite a difficult manner, and that can put a lot of stress on you. And having that sort of, I think, you know, singing from the same hymn sheet is really important, isn't it? And that's quite a big thing, you know, for an agency of your size, maybe, to say we don't want to work with that client. Or for any agency really, to say, I'm sorry, you don't fit.
Yeah, and I think it comes with, like, you know, we started this conversation, we've been around for 19 years, and, you know, initially you start off and you know, you're desperate and you grab any work that comes along, and after a bit you kind of get a sense of who you are and what you're good at and what you do. And we've always had a precursor to that kind of test was the Friday afternoon pint of beer test. Could you go out with that person when, you know, on a Friday tea time and have a pint and a laugh with them? And that was always our kind of, like, you know, and I think essentially what we were saying by that, it was, were they human enough? Was the relationship, you know, strong enough? And were they the kind of person that you'd want to do that with? That's always been our kind of, like, mini mantra in the background.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I mean, not to sort of play on the last 12 months, but obviously it's been an interesting journey, and we're still part of that. And obviously you've already been on that wellness journey with your staff before we got to the pandemic. But we talked about, I think last time we spoke, was about remote working, onboarding new talent, nurturing talent is all really, really difficult to do remotely, and can take its toll obviously on yourself and those employees. How has that journey gone? Has the wellbeing head of happiness helped with that, or is that something that you've anything you can share that you've learned over the last 12 months?
I think you're right. You've nailed it. Whenever I talk to people about remote working, it's been a resounding success from a technology point of view, from a client handling point of view. But the big kind of issue that we've faced has been that onboarding new people. We had a new starter in February last year, so she had a month in the office before we went asunder, and then we took somebody else, a graduate, on in June, July time, and so she's never worked with. There are some people she had never physically met in the team. She's met individuals, but she's still to actually work in the office environment. And I've realised over you know, the senior team have all realised that you've really got to formalise the onboarding and the mentoring side of things in a way that you do by osmosis in an office. You know, that those little conversations of, can you just what about you know, or you overhear a conversation on the phone, or you know, and you just say, I'll just have a quick word with you about that. Next time you might want to, you know, frame it this way. And you don't realise how much of that helps build somebody.
It really does, doesn't it? And I think whatever level you're at, and however people have found the last 12 months, you know, some people have probably relished working at home, or others haven't. I think we're humans. It's known that we need physical human contact. And, you know I miss things like just a quick chat with somebody over something, or even a conversation about what you watched on the TV last night. That's kind of particularly if you're new in the office, that's a conversation starter, isn't it? And you start to bond with people, and all that's you can do all these Zoom quizzes and different things, but something is lacking. I think that physical human contact, isn't it?
It is. I think one of the ways we got around that, and very early on we introduced it, and again it was an idea from one of the team. We introduced what we call the virtual office. So from 8 o'clock till 6 o'clock, there's a Zoom set up that we can all hop on at any point in time. And some people love it and are on there all day long, and others like me, not so much. But we'll just hop. When you're sick of your own company, you know that the team are there, and it works almost like that. Most people have their head down. If we were to go on there now, the team would be there, but tapping away on the keyboards, looking online and so on. But if you just speak up and say, "Has anybody got a contact for X, Y, and Z?" It's just like being in the office in that sense, and that has helped a little bit. It doesn't beat the kind of
No.
But you have to force that. We've introduced forced fun at 4 on Fridays, which is not quite as bad as it sounds, but we've had to kind of like engineer those water cooler moments, if you will, where we just kind of break off and just have a bit of a laugh. And
I think we've all had to force that, having a little bit when we work or out of work, haven't we? I've had Zoom parties, and I had an art party or something the other week. I thought, I don't want to do this. Actually, it was really good fun. I'm not very arty, but I learned something new. I had a glass of wine and a giggle with some friends, and I came away thinking, I'm glad I did it. And I nearly didn't go on. I thought, I can't be bothered to go on to Zoom on a Saturday night. But I think sometimes you just have to push yourself out of your comfort zone, maybe like you would in work as well with that world. I mean, in terms of going back to your head of happiness, as we said, it's quite a big position to put in an agency of your size. What would you say to any other agencies thinking about putting somebody in place like this? And I suppose when you look at the bottom line, can you afford it? People would probably think that was normally somebody that a bigger size agency would bring in. What sort of tips would you give to anybody else thinking about bringing somebody in a similar sort of title or job role?
I think, well, fundamentally it boils down to how much importance you put on it. But I think it's also about investing in your staff. So you wouldn't think twice about investing in training and getting them the right kit. So making sure that they've got the right toolkit mentally and have that resilience and are out to kind of thrive at work. And that's the big phrase, thriving at work, is crucial. I think we've become more and more aware. We one of our clients is Lancashire Mind, and working with them, we've become more and more aware that it isn't just within our industry. It's across every strata of society that we've got to like grow up and learn to talk about mental health and shake off the taboo that sat around it. And one of the things that our head of happiness, one of the first things that they've introduced is something that anybody can get, any business. So you don't need to take somebody on, but it's worth investigating wellness action plans. If you just Google wellness action plans, that Mind have a really good pack for leaders and so on. And what these are just 10 simple questions, I think, about how you recognise when you're stressed, what the business might be able to do to help you, how you might be able to self-help in those situations. And it's not woolly, it's not kind of very new agey, it's very practical, very sensible. And we've used these as like something that you can use between a line manager and a member of the team to kind of frame the one-to-one discussions, or to recognise when the safety valve is about to blow, and what to do about it. Because every individual is different, and so it allows that. And what that does is allow that conversation to be had in a way that we probably struggle in the past. As I said, my background is newspapers. Nobody teaches you to be a kind of health and well-being practitioner. but it's part of your job as a leader now in any kind of industry to be kind of face, being able to have sensible conversations about mental health and well-being.
And it's so, like you said before, it's so different for everybody else. Somebody could want to do a yoga class that gives them a bit of time out. Other people, it's something totally different. Could be a walk. It comes down to your diet and everything that you eat as well, doesn't it? All of that plays a big part in the mental health. I know it's something I'm really interested in. I was chatting to somebody last week who was a nutritionist actually, and she advises businesses, and it was really interesting. Just some of the tips about fueling the mind with food was great to discuss. Do you think you'll see a big shift from now on after the pandemic with businesses putting more employee well-being at the heart? I mean, I still know personally that, and there are some companies out there that just sort of won't do anything, or like to sort of put something on social media that they're ticking a box and doing something on Stress Awareness Day, but they're not always really getting into the heart of what their staff want. But do you think this last 12 months will change that a little bit, and they'll be forced to?
I'm not sure whether it's related to the pandemic, more related to a kind of an acknowledgement. Apologies about that. More an acknowledgement that I think we are now more kind of prepared to have these conversations about, particularly about mental health. So I think that was going on anyway without the pandemic. I think, from my point of view, if I look at it very kind of like selfishly from a what's in it for Viva perspective, I want to attract the best possible people. That's what's in it for me, and so I'm conscious that we can build a reputation for being an employer of choice by looking after our people. Because yes, people want to earn a decent living, but people want to be respected and expect employers to do the right thing by them, I think. And I genuinely believe that we have a duty of care, not just about making sure people don't trip up and so on, but we are putting them under pressure by putting them in front of these clients, and so we need to give them the support that they deserve. And, that's where my head's at, and I think so. There will be a race to the top to attract the best talent by going on this journey, and some firms will have a reputation, and do have a reputation, for being sweatshops and being uncomfortable places to be. I can think of 2 or 3 agencies now where I would not want to be myself, and I can think back to those newspaper days, and I am so glad I am no longer in that kind of environment. But
I think going to work and being yourself is really important, isn't it? And being happy in that environment, thriving in that environment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky. I've got the opportunity to create my own environment here. The Viva bubble can be the very best. That's the beauty of being the business owner, is that you can shape it and create something that is the very best. And going back to where we came in, I just wanted to know what really good practice looked like, and build from there. And I honestly believe that the investment in the health and well-being side of the business will actually pay dividends in terms of winning new business and attracting the right talent and keeping the talent as well.
Definitely. I know, from as I said before, my perspective, and I was talking to some friends yesterday who don't work in PR, actually, one of my first garden meetups, and we did talk about being valued in the workplace, and actually it's so much more than actually earning a certain salary. When you feel like you're valued or you're supported and nurtured, that really is important. And I think maybe when you're starting out in your career, things are slightly different, but I think that's really come to the forefront now for so many people.
Yeah, I agree. You know, that I think that I just want to create an environment that I would be happy to be part of, and part of that is being able to discuss. You know, we all have mental health. It's like that at any one point in time. But for us to be able to say to a you know a team leader, I've got an issue at the minute because X, Y, and Z, and not feel that they're going to be judged or, you know, edged out, but supported and nurtured.
That's so important. So what's your head of happiness got in place? What plans have you got afoot to deliver?
I think what we've got is the kind of framework now, and the funny thing is, I mean, the head of happiness is doing all the kind of what I'd say, all the boring stuff, doing the plans and the process, and putting that kind of framework in place. So currently they're working on a kind of a welcome pack for new starters that will take them through this whole thing, so that it's right from the moment somebody walks through the door, they understand our ethos and what it means, because we recognise that we're probably ahead of the game here, and it might freak a few people out to say, you know, you've got all this stuff, but so explain what we're doing. So that's the project that they're working on next, and we're exploring with the team different things, because we what we've done with the kind of the walking and the yoga and so on is just pick baubles that have been out there that we've got, oh, that's good, we'll have a go at that, and we really want to start a dialogue now between everyone and go, are we doing the right things for you? Is this really what you want? And what else is it that we can be doing? Or is this making you feel uncomfortable that you've got all this, but you feel under pressure to do it, but you don't really want to? And, you know, having that open and honest conversation. So I think it'll gradually take shape, and you know, speak to me in 12 months' time, and I'm sure a lot of things will have changed. But we're in that kind of process now of really understanding what we need to do.
That's excellent. And with this month being Stress Awareness Month, I suppose I need to ask you, how do you reduce stress, or if you're feeling stressed, what do you do? What's your go-to?
Well, since the turn of the year, I've been walking to work. It's a 2.5 mile. I stressed the half, because that 2.5 mile walk, and that's been an amazing thing. I've done it. Rain, hail, snow, whatever. And in Rosendale we get a lot of that weather. Yeah. But it's really good. It clear, you know, it's a 40-minute walk into work in the morning. It really clears your head in the morning, gets you really kind of set up for the day, and helps you kind of put things in perspective. I think when you're walking, you kind of go at walking pace. Your mind goes at walking pace, and it just allows you to kind of, you know, and whereas the drive, you kind of got on edge. You kind of muscling your way through the traffic and so on. So it's a completely different mindset, and I would recommend that if people can do it once a week. You know, I know people are walking from the kitchen into the dining room or vice versa these days, but I'm lucky that I can populate.
It's important. I think walking is amazing. I try and do it every day, and I love listening to podcasts as well. I've got them to it more, so I just think, well, I need to get out and put something on and listen and catch up on my podcast. That's my new thing.
Yeah, I love a podcast. I've been listening to quite a few on the way down, and audio books and so on. And yeah, that's been my go-to thing. We've carried on with the kind of workplace activities. We do the boot camp on Zoom and the yoga on Zoom and so on. And but just physically keeping active and getting some fresh air.
It is so important. I think it's the number one, and it's free, and it's there, and you can go and enjoy it whenever, really. Most people, hopefully. Oh, that's fantastic, Tony. I really, I know what I said when I spoke to you, I think it was in February, I really admire what you were doing as a company. Like you said, you're ahead of the game, and I really think you are. I think it's so important. Not just in PR, there's other industries as well, but in PR it is a stressful environment, as we said. And obviously, not just dealing with clients, you've got journalists as well. You know, they put pressure on you sometimes, or you don't always get the desired outcome from a journalist that you want, and that puts you under stress then to go back to the client. So I think if you're actually putting that well-being at the heart of the industry is really important. So thank you for taking time to share your wellness journey and story.
No, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and I would just say to any kind of PRCA members listening, if they want to pick my brain, drop me an email, pick the phone up. I'm happy to kind of share my thoughts for whatever for what it's worth, and I'd be happy to